Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Dungeon Cooldown. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, patrons, you delightful folks who support the show and make it possible. Hello. Hello, Jessica Lynn Parsons. How are you?
Hello, Jeff. Middle name Kanata. What's your middle name?
You know what my middle name is.
Oh, I do. Wait. It's Ein.
It's, yeah, with an S at the end.
Ains.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Hello, everybody.
Yep.
Hello, everybody in chat. Hello, Whisper Josephine, the first in chat. Hello. Hi, Johnny Valen 77, Borkware Mark D, Sir Darvin, Justin. Hi, Justin hung out with me for almost my entire Elden Ring stream yesterday. Will Meister, Ahoy Gingerbeard also stopped by. JM McLean. Hi, everybody. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us on the cooldown. We also got a gift sub from Kitty Scritches to the community, so thank you so much, and that goes out to Frontiersman. And I think I also saw, oh yeah, a couple folks are resubscribing and using their Prime, so if you didn't know, you could do that for free, and information on how to do that is in our About page below. So yeah, today we are here to talk about episode 111, which...
Actually, Jessica, I was thinking maybe we just talk about Elden Ring for an hour.
I think we should.
That's what people are much more interested in hearing us talk about.
Well, I streamed it on my channel last night for 8 hours, and I certainly got my fill, and I have some opinions on it.
Yeah. So I think, there's not really much to talk about from the last episode anyway.
I know, it's kind of like...
Let's talk about something completely different.
Pretty boring episode. Episode 111. Not a lot of life-changing events happening there.
Life-changing. Life-ending. So here's, in all seriousness, as Jessica was saying, spoilers. This episode's going to have spoilers for through episode 111. So if you haven't watched episode 111, I would suggest watching that first.
Yeah.
Also, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No. I was saying also, it should be noted and it should be clear that the cast, aside from Jessica, is not here, is not privy, and will not be watching this cooldown. So we can talk freely. We very specifically had this cooldown be Jessica and myself, the two folks that were in the secret room from last week, so that we can talk freely about that. So that's fun, because the cast will not be watching this. They have vowed not to watch it, and I trust them. And and however, I will say, Jessica is in chat. We're reading your chat. We're going to be answering as many questions as we can have time for. But I would request kindly that the chat isn't really the place to speculate on what you think is going to happen next episode, because it's not really the place for that. There's places on the Discord you can do that. People have been speculating like crazy all week, and it's been fun to read and watch. But let's talk about the things that have happened and what it means, and all that stuff is great. But just like, I think next week, blah, 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 is not useful, I don't think, right now.
Well, and speaking of, we've got a lot of awesome comments that are coming in the Discord, and normally things can be put in the spoiler channels, but because this is a particular instance, which has happened before, where some of the cast knows some things and some of the cast doesn't, we ask that all speculation and all speak of what happened in the secret room specifically goes into the no cast channel, so that none of us can see it except for, of course, Jeff.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all on the same page. First of all, Jessica, I would like to ask you how you are feeling. We haven't really talked since Wednesday. So how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen on Wednesday, but I trust you. But what I've said a couple times to folks is I also trust you to be fair, and that doesn't always mean there's a happy ending. So I don't know what's gonna happen to Fahima. I think I trust that I will continue on as a player, but I don't know what exactly is gonna happen to my character, at least my character as we see her currently.
Well, the one thing I did text you, I will reveal to everybody, I texted you after last episode, was I hope you're okay with what happens next.
And I said yes, and Jeff said, okay, you're not coming back. Goodbye forever.
I said, let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. No,
You're fired.
I have to say, you know, it has been wonderful working with all of the cast. But since they're not here, I'm gonna kiss your butt right now. But I think that you and I, in particular, have been in have achieved a level of trust that I am super grateful for and really relish. And I just admire your ability to jump in with both feet. And it has forced me to jump in with both feet many times as well. And it has been such a privilege working with you. Now that we're not anymore, it's been such a privilege working with you. No, I truly mean that.
No,
It's been a special. It's been special.
This is the goodbye speech.
No, it's not the goodbye speech. It's been special, and I just want you to know that this week was another example of how much I appreciated you. You know, taking the given circumstances and investing in, like, the reason that scene worked and was so powerful is because of how you / Fahima interpreted it, you know, acknowledged it, felt it, expressed it, and that is such a gift for a DM or I mean, for the whole show, really.
And much of that was done in silence too, because Fahima could not share anything. But I mean, same to you. The setup is what made the entire situation happen. So you giving that amazing gift of a choice, a big choice, and a choice with ultimately high stakes. I mean, that's what any player wants. So yeah, thank you for, well, I don't know, do I want to thank you?
Yeah, don't thank me too soon. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let's get into some patron questions, because as patrons to the wonderful Dungeon Run at patreon.com/thedungeonrun, you have the first opportunity to ask questions on the cooldown, and there's a lot, so I want to get through as many as we can. I mean, get through all of them if we can. And I don't really know how to do them other than the order in which they were posted, because if I was smarter, there would be a better order for all this, but we'll just get them in the order that they were asked. This one comes from Tuomas Kaikonen. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Jessica, did Fahima consider Ugo's offer when he told her he'd die for her? I was thinking maybe James would have been a suitable sacrifice too. Any other options did she ponder?
The phrasing of that question, you thought James would be a suitable sacrifice. So evil.
Yeah, right?
So this might answer other questions too, I'm not sure, but Fahima did not consider killing anybody else. She decided right away it was going to be her. I mean, yeah, briefly, you know, like thinking over the what if options of what is, you know, it's like when you're driving your car and you're like, what if I just drove off a cliff right now? You know, like you consider the crazy options that you could do without really thinking that you would ever do that. So she did think about what that would be like, and instantly it was like, no. I mean, how could you ever justify that?
Well, I thought it was, I mean, as Tuomas pointed out, I did have a bit of a chill up my spine when Ugo said, I would die for you. I didn't know if Ron was guessing what the situation was or what, but it did feel eerily appropriate, you know?
Yeah, well, I think it's possible that Ron did know, but it didn't feel like metagaming at all. It felt like that's definitely something that Ugo would say if he saw his friend experiencing what she was going through. And
yeah.
When he said that, it just made Fahima sad, really sad, because it just puts into contrast more the decision that she's making, because here is somebody offering to do this for her, and it's still not enough. Somebody could offer their life on a platter and it still wouldn't be enough. So yeah.
Beautiful. I think that's
answer
well
that
said.
question.
All right. Next question comes from Red Robin. Jessica, when you asked if the heroes of Bingle just meant the 5 players and if they included companions, were you thinking that maybe Meep could be the sacrifice since he'd or she would rehatch later? By the way, your performance after returning from the secret room was amazing. Tortured, sad, almost manic. I'm just speechless at how well you captured what Fahima was going through.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
I was actually thinking of Mr. Whispers.
Not my companion.
Because
somebody else's companion.
I mean, come on, Mr. Whispers is truly the most expendable of the party because he can resummon Mr. Whispers by using a brass pot, you know? Like,
right.
And Mr. Whispers doesn't truly die, I don't think. He just gets sent to another plane. So
well, according to the rules as written in D&D, that's how companions work. I just always felt that's a little cheap. But I get it. I mean, I get it. But I always felt like that. It's like, well, then you have this like expendable. It just kind of removes the stakes of having a companion.
Yeah.
But it's it's how D&D works. I get it.
Well, and that we've kind of seen the downside of not doing that because that's what Meep is. You know, Meep is not expendable, and she has gotten us into some trouble. But yeah, I think I thought of Mr. Whispers, and I also was like, what about the bear?
But like,
we can kill the bear.
Yes. Just kill all the animals. I will say though, just to further my point here, you know, say what you will about Olsvach, but I think the whole sequence of you being captured and them having to come get you, all that stuff was so intense and unpredictable and magic from a improvised storytelling point of view. None of it would have happened if you could just snap your fingers and have Meep come back, right? You wouldn't have cared.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't care if you send your animal companion in and gets slaughtered, and it's like, oh well, I'll just zip make a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden there's no stakes, there's no risk, FEMA's not having to rush in. It's like all of those things are stolen away from the story.
Yeah.
So, you know.
For sure.
All right, this next question comes from Chef Scott 68, Scott Tant. Start off, tip of the hat to Jeff and Jessica. Very intense episode and well played on both parts. Jessica, having been someone who has watched you now for the last 2 years, I will roll for the non-creeper check. It seemed to me that once you had heard the terms of the trial, you had already chosen who would die. I think Wrong figured it out moments before the trial. This is kind of what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But I assumed that you weren't going to allow anyone else to take your spot. We have watched Fahima make tough choices in the past. Would you say that this was one of the hardest ones? Kudos to you for going out with style and panache. And for Jeff, did her decision surprise you? Was it one of your hardest decisions, or was it an easy decision?
It was definitely not an easy decision. I mean, I needed all of that time to... So if you haven't seen, if you're not a patron, or if you are, I published on last Friday a pretty lengthy diary entry on all of her thoughts in that time when she really couldn't say anything. And
you should read it. It's beautifully written. Beautifully
Thanks,
written. Yeah, it really is.
I mean, it's much more embellished and well thought out in the diary post, but I essentially did go through that entire thought process, which is, in summary, you know, if I die, does the secret even matter? I'm supposed to be hidden anyway. Does it even matter if I die? Can I die at all? You know, what happens to the party? What happens to my dad? What happens to the story? And so I think, given all of that, kind of the thought process that I had, which was a culmination of the story that we've been telling for 3 years, it somehow made this decision a little easier than, I think, the decision to go with the Ashen Mage, because at that time Jeff and I had not established the trust in the storytelling that we have now, and that was kind of like, am I gonna break the story if I do this? Is that gonna, what does that do to my character? What does that do to the storytelling? What does that do to my character's story arc if we do that? Whereas this decision, I felt like it felt right to make this decision. It felt like it made sense. So not.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that we couldn't have really done earlier. You know, it's a super unfair thing that I did to you.
What?
By saying, you know, somebody has to die, right?
Oh.
Somebody has to die. That's not cool. It's not nice. But
oh, I know.
I don't think that works in episode 10 or 20 or 50.
No,
you know, it has to be crested the hump, and it has to feel like, you know, we've said a lot of what we want to say with these characters, and killing one isn't stealing something necessarily. It's like culminating in that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
I think that's all right.
I want to say really quickly, I saw Will Meister's comment here. Isn't Fahima's diary disintegrated? Yeah. So with her diary entries, I think I even put like a preface in the Discord or something where it's like, these aren't true diary entries. She would have had no time to write this. We kind of suspend space and time for these diary entries to exist.
Yeah. It's a conceit that I think is not a big deal. But it is a funny idea. Dear diary, shut up!
Zadiah said Fahima's squishy and took half her health from blood sacrifice. Oh, yeah, much more than half. And I think the total damage was 148 points of damage.
Oh, man.
And her hit point maximum is 78.
That's pretty badass. Pretty baller. This is a question from Marie Listopad that I'm not going to answer, obviously. Well, first I'll answer the one from Chef Scott, which is, Jeff, did her decision surprise you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes and no, right? I mean, I sort of... I definitely thought there was a possibility that she wouldn't make that decision. Definitely. And I was very curious. I was genuinely curious what was going to happen, because I mean, Jessica has surprised me on numerous occasions, and I definitely thought that was a possibility. So, you know, but then once you were doing what you were doing, it became clear to me. I mean, I think it's a great storytelling in that it retroactively becomes inevitable, right? It's the obvious choice after it happens, which is what you want all your stories to feel like. It really feels like it could go either way, but then once it happens, it's like that had to happen. You know, that's what you want.
That's interesting.
Anyway, this question from Marie Listopad. So is Fahima really gone? Now, come on. You don't want me to answer that. That's why you tune in next week. Anyway.
I want to know. I want to know too.
You will find out with everybody else next week. All right. Dr. Sparks says, Jeff, I absolutely love the trial you came up with. Can you let us know how you originally thought this up? Was it mainly to keep with the theme of the Secret Keeper, or is there some other inspiration? Yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted it to be a trial of trust, right? That is a central theme. If you remember, one of the first things that Torvald tells them, I think in episode 1 or 2, somewhere around there, is that trust is the key. And I think Diftha says that too at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, she said it to Fahima.
Yeah, trust. It's all about trust. Like, trust has been a theme not just for the characters in the story, but for us as players, right? That was, you know, it's hard to remember now way back, but we all started this not knowing each other from Adam, right? We met at a casting call, right? So it required a lot of trust. And so that was something that I wanted to reinforce both in the context of the show and you know, just sort of, it's a theme of what we were making. So I knew that I wanted to keep reinforcing that, and Ereban, you know, as a character is sort of represents the show, right? He's a meta character that exists outside the boundaries of these characters as well. And the fiction of the show is that Ereban has brought us to this place to play Dungeons and Dragons. And so, I don't know, it all just made sense to me, right? That it needed to be this thing about trust. And I couldn't think, well, I will say this. Fahima's trial isn't necessarily what would have happened if anybody else went in there, but I knew that trust, the ultimate show of trust, right, is this, right? Is are you willing to die for something, or are you willing to kill somebody for? Are you will, you know, what do you trust to jump off the cliff? Really, it's like, what's the biggest cliff we can jump off of? That's the biggest one I could think of. So
it feels like a bigger measure of trust for Fahima to have sacrificed herself over sacrificing somebody else. It's interesting to think she would be like, okay, I trust you, Lord Araban, pew, and kills another party member.
Well, in that context, I thought that could work, because in that context, I imagined this moment where Fahima has to turn on her friend, you know, or like, I imagined one way this could play out is that there's this big crazy battle and the heroes are getting whittled down and somebody is very close to death, and Fahima turns and casts fireball on them or whatever and knocks them over the ledge or whatever it is and kills them off. And so there's this like level of trust of the rest of the team who didn't know, didn't know the motivations of Fahima and are now like, oh, Ugo's prediction that she can kill us all is coming true.
Yeah.
Do we trust her? So there were layers of trust that I thought could all play out.
Yeah. I feel like I could see that happening if we had maybe turned down different forks in the road along the way. That would have been really, really cool. And speaking of, I was thinking to myself, it would have been really cool in an alternate universe if Fahima had killed Zanelka, and this happens, and this becomes sort of a redemption arc,
right?
Because
and you expect her to do the same thing again, right? You think, oh my gosh, she was willing to do that to someone she was falling in love with.
Yeah. I guess it's just kind of cool to look back and think of how differently the story could go, because a lot of times we think of how cool our story kind of like falls into place, and how things that we improvise just seem to like lock in so beautifully, and then you think that it could have locked in a different way, in a beautiful way.
Well, think about this, Jessica. I may attempt to blow your mind. So it could have been anybody that went into the secret room, right? I gave the choice to the cast. Could have been anybody that went to the secret room, and you had complete freedom over who you chose to kill, or you could have chosen to reject that notion entirely and just not trusted Araban's premise, and done something completely off the. So there's a ton of choice there. But now think about this: in episode 6. You don't choose the motive gusts. Somebody else chooses.
Yeah.
Like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That seems like, oh my gosh, 100 episodes. It all was. All is all player choice. It's all. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I'm just saying like these things that all feel like they were supposed to happen. So much of it is a lot of it is serendipity. A lot of it is, sort of fitting square pegs into round holes sometimes, but also I think there's a magic, there's a beauty to how this kind of storytelling works. And when everybody does trust each other, it does feel like, oh, this was the inevitable, this was the perfect situation, So anyway.
I had kind of wondered that if the Cyclone Warden was always the 6th Warden, or if that was something that could have been interchangeable between the Wardens.
Well, I don't want to reveal that, but the thing I will say is that you all legitimately had your choice of whatever moat you wanted to pick. I think we determined who picked first by roll of a die, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember that. But I remember that Ron picked fire, and I was like, oh, that was mine. Okay, I gotta pick a different one.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, it legitimately, the story would have been wildly different, right? Wildly different if, if that was happening. Because obviously, I mean, I'll tell you this, the Inferno Warden was always going to be at the bottom of the sea. And the Typhoon Warden was always going to be in the volcano, and you had already fought the Storm Warden.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, or freed the Storm Warden, I should say.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ooh.
So, kind of interesting. Okay, back to questions. Jessica, I love what you did in the episode. This is still Dr. Sparks. I love what you did in the episode, and going back in the episode, Lily says to you something like, "I'll be by your side forever," which I thought was so beautiful. Your choice makes that moment so powerful, and it's great. Why did you feel making your sacrifice so quickly was the best choice instead of letting the group play out the dungeon and its secrets more?
Okay, so I talked about this in Fahima's diary. As soon as she made her decision that she was going to sacrifice herself, I knew that it needed to happen as quickly as possible, because in Fahima's mind, the trial ends when she completes the goal, and she doesn't want her friends to get hurt any more than necessary. Metagaming, I did consider giving her more time, giving the fight more time to like kind of like sit in it, and for her to hesitate and watch her friends get hurt a little more and not really know if this was the decision that she wanted to make. But ultimately, I felt quite strongly that Fahima, once she always does this. When she makes her decision, she goes for it. So in order to not have her friends get hurt any more than necessary, she needed to off herself in one shot, and 0 hit points means unconscious. Lily might, hurt herself trying to get to Fahima to revive her. Ugo might sacrifice himself trying to heal Fahima. So she was like, I need to just... And I was looking through my spells, and even a fireball at maximum damage does not kill Fahima at this point, because she has so many hit points. And even I think if I cast it at 5th level or 6th level, and a lot of my powerful spells I can't target myself. Some of my spells involve Meep, and that doesn't really make sense story-wise. So really the only thing left, even though only True Resurrection and a Wish, according to the rules in the player's handbook, can revive somebody from disintegration, that was the one where I was like, this is gonna kill me immediately, and the party's not gonna be able to stop me, and they're not gonna be able to bring me back. And I was shooketh when Civ turned. He was like, I think I can stop this. I was like, what? You can stop this?
Part of me was like, oh no, it's stealing a moment. And then part of me was like, this is gonna be wild if it does stop it, because now what does Fahima do? Now what do you do? Like, now
I burned
now
that
they're
spell
kind of
slot,
on
right?
to you, and they
Yeah.
know what you're trying to attempt, and is it become this battle with the I was like, oh, I'm kind of curious to see what'll happen.
I
Yeah.
totally think Ugo and Civ would immediately try to restrain Fahima.
Right.
But then, like, she can't give up
And
the
then what?
ruse.
Right. Yeah. You can't say anything. So now what happens?
So then my prediction is Jeff goes, and the monster goes, whoa, whoa, and just smashes everyone to bits and pieces, and a lot of us die.
Well, I mean, it would be interesting to see if you guys could manage that boss fight with 2 people trying to restrain you. So I think that could have played out a really fascinating way, where and honestly, it would have reinforced this notion of trust, because clearly the team isn't trusting Fahima at that point, right? There's no trust in her to doing the right thing. So
But they were but the trial was I didn't quite get this straight. They were under the understanding it was the trial of might, but I think they also heard
Correct.
the trial of trust, right?
They knew that. I mean, they had heard the word trust from Lord Ereban in a previous episode when he said, what about? I think Morgan brought up the fact that he had said trust, and you have to complete my trials earlier. But I don't think they thought it was literally a trial of trust.
Okay.
You and I had told them it was a trial of might.
Okay,
But-
yeah. So they would have only had that information back from Lord Ereban to go off of, that it was trust.
But I want to be very clear about something. If Fahima had failed the trial, however that may have happened, I was fully prepared. It would have hurt my heart so much, but I was fully prepared to like never reveal the secret. I was like, this has to be the terms, right? This has to be the stakes, or else there's no stakes.
This is a trial of trust for you too.
Yeah. I was like, that's it. I can. So anyway, so hopefully the secret is interesting enough that it justifies all of this. Hopefully people believe that. All right.
Jeff.
Anyway, I also want to comment that I thought that was beautiful when Lily said, "I'm by your side forever." I thought that was so pretty. Whisper Joe says, Jeff, Milo sure provided some much needed comic relief. Did you plan that knowing the trial could be emotionally gut wrenching, or was that just a happy accident? If Uggo gives Milo a sock, is Milo then free? I think that's a reference
hilarious.
to something maybe.
Harry Potter. No, it's Harry Potter.
Oh right. Yes, okay. Did he say? I guess he sounded like Dobby.
Master gives Dobby a sock. Dobby is free.
I didn't catch the reference. Thank you for that. I definitely think that it was more the happy accident than a plan, knowing it would be gut wrenching. I mean, Milo is 100% a creation of Lord Ereban / Dan Broman, and I am grateful to be able to have a gift like that to play with, because I didn't come up with Milo at all. That is completely a creation that Zand came up with in the intros. So and then the intermission. And so I just felt like if we're gonna see Ereban, we got to see Milo. So that's all.
I loved it.
I had fun with him too. Yeah. This is a question from David Gen Pro. What a ride last episode was. From the top shelf comic relief of Civ and Uggo broing out in a tub, comparing scars and washing each other. Shades of that scene in Spartacus. Then James continuing to put his full demon affairs in order with the Turles confession, to Fahima struggling with a huge choice and her sacrifice. Compelling performance, JLP, and diabolical situation, Jeff. Can we get a hint about whether the real Lord A will make an appearance next week, and if Fahima is really gone for good? Next week may be the most anticipated next session ever. Bravo. We already talked about Fahima being gone for good. You gotta tune in, bro. Come on. I'm not gonna you don't even really want to know that. You know? You don't really want to know. I will say she's dead. She's dead.
What's your definition of dead?
Lord A, tune in. I think, if nothing else, I feel like Lord A will have some opinions about Lord A being in the story. Next question is from Kitty Scritches. Jeff and Jessica, thank you so much. Your emotional commitment to the story makes TDR my absolute favorite content. It's unlike anything else out there. When presented with this trial, I was on a roller coaster with Fahima. I have been devastated since watching it. Jeff, from the little we saw of the fight you had planned, it doesn't seem like Fahima needed to do anything in particular. The fight was so difficult, somebody's dying, if not TPK. What were the odds in your mind going in of Fahima making the choice she did? Did you consider making self-sacrifice not an option? And well, back up, guess you had no idea who they would choose. Anyway, mostly just wanted to tell you how much the show and your commitment to it means to me. I did consider that. I did consider saying there's another rule, it can't be you. I thought about that, but I didn't think that was fair. And I think this is a more beautiful sacrifice anyway. But I did think that twisting the screws a little bit and saying, hey, somebody has to die and it can't be you, would be really rough.
We would have needed a whole other episode to finish that fight if that was the case. I think I don't remember where I said it. Oh, I was in the YouTube premiere. It was like 3 hours and 10 or 15 minutes into the show, and then that battle began, and I was like, okay, so Jeff either is willing for this battle to be cut in half, or he's like, this is not going to take very long.
I was definitely looking at my watch going tick-tock, tick-tock. That's why Milo was like, let's go.
I could feel it. I knew you were doing that, and I was like, no, Jeff, I need this. I need this.
It was beautiful. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, you don't need to apologize.
But yeah, I was looking at my watch going, we have a big fight. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a question later that I'll explain the fight for. The next question is from Andrea Englert. Andrea writes, I don't normally ask questions, but after that crazy episode last week, I had to chime in. Absolutely amazing stuff from both of you, and I've loved the show for a long time. I got a few questions, though, and feel free to tell me you can't answer them. It'll be revealed on Wednesday. 1, would the trial have been the same if someone else had gone into the secret room instead of Fahima? And do you think the outcome would have been the same, i.e. the person on the trial sacrificing themselves? I don't think the trial would have necessarily been the same, but let's say it was. I'm curious what you think, Jessica. Do you think every one of the characters would have only sacrificed themselves?
Let's see. James, yes. I'll go.
Definitely.
Obviously. Yeah. Lily, I think, yeah. And Civ, maybe the least likely, second to Fahima. But actually, I don't know. I think Civ can game the game. I think he's really good at doing that. And I think that he also has the least problem morally with, he would have the least moral problem with that, I think. So I think Civ, I don't know. He's kind of 50-50 for me, but I think, more likely that he would have killed somebody else. Not out of being evil, but just out of like, this is the game.
Interesting. I love that. I love that perspective. I'm so curious. I'm actually I think I would be most curious to see what Lily would have done in there.
Me too.
Because
she's kind of a wild card.
She is kind of a wild card, and she also doesn't have a very easy way to kill herself. This is a horrible thing to say, but like, it would have been a fascinating.
True.
I mean, would she have just had to like run into the monster and try to let the monster kill her? I don't know. It would have been very interesting if that had come to pass in that way.
I think she would have just let herself get hurt by the monster. Yeah, she would have been. I think she would have been more covert than Fahima. Fahima went out with a big explosion, but Lily probably would have suffered.
Yeah, well, because I mean, everybody would have tried to save Lily, right? So she can't. It would have been harder, I think. It would have been harder.
Yeah. Fahima, I think, had the easiest time because of that disintegrate and blood sacrifice spell.
In a way, she had the easiest time. Okay, second question from Andrea. Jessica, what's your backup character? I think you mentioned this a bunch of times. You don't have a backup character per se, right?
I do not. No, I think if anything, I would expect Jeff to have me play an NPC or like a floating soul that speaks through Meep or something, you know?
How many ways can you say the word Meep?
At least 5 different ways.
There you go. You're in. You got it. You're hired.
5 words in. And obviously I speak Jessica. Celestial, as you saw on stream.
Oh yeah, you could sing. That might be worth it. Worth killing Fahima just for that. Number 3, Jeff, how hard was it to mimic Lord Ereband's voice? Impossible. Can't be done. Zand is one of a kind. Can't be done. 4, what is the purpose of Milo's, or what was the purpose of Milo's bowl in the fight? That, well, you never really got to see it, but that was the countdown timer. Every time that the team killed an enemy or one of the eye stalks of the beholder thingy, every time they killed one, it was going to fill up a little bit. So it was going to be showing Fahima that it's tick-tock, tick-tock. It's getting closer to the end of the fight. If the bowl filled up all the way,
so good,
then the fight was over and the trial was over.
I'm so sorry for robbing you of this fight, Jeff. It was going to be so
okay.
epic.
It's okay. It worked out really, really well. It was really, really beautiful. So no need to apologize.
Rabbit attack goat. What if they just scooped the liquid out?
I mean, that would have been fun.
Now goat just tips it over.
But see here, the cool thing is from the team's perspective, they want the bowl to fill. Fahima's the only one that doesn't want the bowl to fill, right?
Yeah.
So that would have been the fun tension.
Kicks it over, and then the tentacles grow back.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Number 5. I rewatched episode 110 today, especially the entire interaction with the Queen. And Jessica did ask it, but it was never answered. Jeff, where was the energy coming from that the Urn of Invention was using? You said that there is finite energy in the universe. and something can't be made from nothing, so it had to come from somewhere. Well, we saw how energy is put into the urn, right? With the Chrono Dragon. We saw one way.
Yeah, we sure did. That's a scary thought. That's a really
think about
scary
it.
thought.
Yeah.
God, Jeff. We need that face as a gif.
Well, I mean, I think the metaphor that I kept bringing up over and over and over again on the show is you eat a chicken to be able to go outside and play, right? You eat a cow to be able to go to work and do the thing. Like you need energy, right? From the cow's perspective, it's not great.
Yeah.
Not great from the cow's perspective. And hey, guess what? From the broccoli's perspective, also true. This isn't like an animal rights thing that I'm trying to bring up. It's literally like living things have to perish for other living things to thrive. And that, at a certain point, that metaphor became all that, everything became apparent. Onivrius the Keen went, hey, guess what? I'm at the top of the food chain now, right? For human beings, we can eat everything. We're omnivores because we look around, we're at the top of the food chain. We eat whatever we want. Onivrius went, oh, everything exists for me to make what I want of it. He's like, oh, and guess what? That means I'm a god because I get to play with life, literally use life to make whatever I want. So that's the central metaphor of the story.
Wow, that's such a great big bad to have that power.
Thank you. Okay, Jessica writes, I hope you both are having a great start to your Monday, and I'm sending you all the good vibes to get through the week. Jeff, can you share any information about the fight we did not get to see play out, how it would have worked, the meaning of the bowl, if it's not spoilery? Parentheses, it was a smart move on Fahima's part to end it ASAP. So there you go. It's a smart move. I think I talked about this a little bit. Bowl is the countdown timer. At the top of each round, a new bad guy from their past was going to come into the fight, adding more tension, but also being the level they were when they fought them the original time, so probably would have died fast.
Ah, interesting.
And honestly, the eye stalks didn't have tons of HP either. So the idea was there was going to be a lot of the bowl filling up, right? So
it wasn't going to be an impossible fight.
It was not an impossible fight. I know that everybody perceived it as an impossible fight. In fact, the whole point is that from Fahima's perspective, it's too easy, right? It's happening too fast. The bowl is filling up. Oh no, tick tock, tick tock. I have to make this decision. That was the idea. I also thought I saw you getting emotional when describing the smell of a studio in Burbank. Could you tell us a little about how you originally planned this to play out while in the studio? Well, a lot of it would have been interacting with actual airband in the actual airband room.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah. All right. The next question from Rabbit Attack Goat. That choice! Jessica, you seem to be considering what to do for a long while. How did the fact that Fahima might not be around afterward to receive the secret weigh on your choice? Is Fahima placing her trust in her companions to bring her back somehow so she can find out? I'd love to know the thought process. I somehow get the feeling that Jeff was rubbing his hands with glee as Fahima entered the secret room. Okay, what do you think, Jessica? Was Fahima putting her trust in her teammates, or how did that play out?
Yeah, well, I mean, I did consider, is this just idiotic to, kill Fahima and then the secret is intrinsically tied to her and then it's useless, but I think that she thought that wouldn't be, Lord Erebin wouldn't do that. Not that she knows Lord Erebin, but I think that if the only point, I don't think she sees him as evil, and I think that would be pretty evil for him to go, you have the option of killing yourself and then the secret is rendered useless. So she was hoping that the secret would still be useful to her party members once she was gone, if that was the case. Yeah. And the time that I took was not considering who should die. It was if she was willing to die for the secret.
Yeah, I felt that. I thought that was so beautifully handled. I was very scared that by not saying anything, she was going to reveal something. But I just thought it just happened. So I was very nervous in that moment. But you handled it really, really well. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I really tried not to emote. Like, even when Uggo said I will die for you, I tried to just feel it kind of stoically without like breaking down into tears, because
Me too.
that would give it away if I broke down.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely was like poker face when Uggo said that too. I thought it was really funny when Civ was like, what if I ask you a question and then you I was like, I thought it was very funny. Your response was very funny too. You were like, no, it's not gonna
He's the
work.
keeper of secrets. He's gonna know. Poor James.
There's
like, can I do a sending for you? No.
Yeah.
No.
I did feel bad when you're like, do I have time to write a note?
You know, I was actually glad when you said no, because I was like, I don't know if I could think of a beautiful way to write this note in like the 5 seconds that I have before this fight begins. I needed the time afterwards to process and write that whole thing in this diary.
Yeah, the diary's really, really nice. Rabbit Attack Goat also says, did you enjoy the experience of Morgan DMing you as per Samuels during the dream sequence? I did. Yes, I thought that was great. Clearly, Morgan had put a lot of thought into that. It was completely out of left field. I did not see it coming, but I thought it was a lovely moment and a really wonderful culmination of that relationship and that weight that James had been bearing for so long.
Yeah, what a great episode to do it into, you know, like facing this trial of the keeper of secrets himself, and he expels his own secret.
Oh, it's a great point. Really, really great point. Yeah. Ogito17 says, episode 1, portals and death. Episode 111, portals and death. Episode 11, portal, but no death. It was the portal to the Tardy Plunder. Have to see what episode 1111 brings us. Jess, again, a wonderful performance. I can only hope that my trust in Lord Ereban is rewarded. As you read this, I'm flying to the West Coast. I need some rum drink therapy after 111. And then our final question from the Patreon comes from Thomas Colton, who says, when a fire genasi disintegrates, do they turn to gunpowder?
I don't know.
Was pretty clever.
We'll find out.
All right, those were awesome. I know folks in the chat have been asking stuff as we go.
Yeah, I wrote a
well.
couple down, but we actually answered a couple of them. Like, does Fihim have a backup character? Why did she choose Disintegrate? There's one that I wrote down from Cal's Creations. Why did you say, Meep, come find me? And I touched on this in the diary entry as well. So I don't know what Fihima knows about Phoenixes. I mean, I know what I know as a player because I have Meep's character sheet, but and I know that she has a special ability that I think I've shared before on a cooldown, but Fihima, I don't think Fihima knows that. I don't know how she would know that. So Fihima is just hoping that Meep has already shown that she has magical protection powers because she casts, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but Protective Shroud every time they're in a fight, which doesn't come into use very often because it's against spell attacks, but she's always casting a Shroud of Protection on Fihima, so I think that she hopes that Meep has some kind of protection powers that might allow her to reach to Fihima beyond death, and that's kind of the limit of what I think Fihima can know. So yeah, I think that's why she said, come find me, because if there is an afterlife, if there is a way for Meep to reach her and protect her even beyond life, then she would make that plea.
I thought it was really beautiful. I thought that was really heartbreaking moment, and yeah, it really worked.
I didn't realize until I was writing my diary entry too that yeah, Meep's never gonna meet Fahima in an afterlife if there is one, because she just keeps getting reborn over and over again.
No, I read that in your diary and I was like, oh, it's so true. I didn't even think about that. It's so heartbreaking.
I mean, when we discovered her, it was heartbreaking because she just kept dying and getting rehatched over and over again. It's like Meep's life is kind of tragic in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not like the best ability ever to just have to force to be reincarnated and
immortality's hard, you know?
Yeah.
It's rough. I love Cress here says, Jeff, this was a big swing for the DM. What was your biggest fear about the episode? I think my biggest fear about that episode, and has been the case over and over again in the show, is, worrying that the players might feel treated unfairly or something like that. Like it's like I said at the beginning of this cooldown, it's a very unfair prospect to give any player, is to say, hey, somebody's got to die just arbitrarily. That's messed up, and it's definitely something that a different group of players might go, that's not cool, man, not cool. And especially if Fahima had made the decision to just off one of her teammates, it's the kind of thing that could really be problematic for a group. It's like, hey, you just killed my character, not cool. But I really believed in this group, and I believe how far we've come. I think that everybody would have taken that as an opportunity for storytelling, and I have such confidence in everybody, and Jessica in particular. But yeah, I mean, that's always I think I've told the story before that as I was leaving for our taping of episode 6, which is the War of Wardens episode, where everybody gets transported into the bodies of other characters. I remember leaving and turning to my wife as I was leaving the house going, well, I might be ruining the show. This might be it. This might be where they turn on me. Like, a lot of folks might not take kindly to the fact of, you're not playing your characters right now. You're playing these characters right now. That's a tricky situation, and one folks might not respond to positively.
Oh, we loved it.
So, yeah, it turned out great, obviously, but those are always the when you like the question was asked. It's a big swing. Sometimes you feel those big swings, and you go, I hope I'm not gonna piss anybody else off.
Yeah, Sprinkwinkle, trust fall DM move.
Totally. It was a trial of trust for me, as you said, Jessica.
Yeah.
I know that Fail Waffle has been asking over and over and over again if Whitebeard et al. Would have been themselves, or if they would have been automatons. And guess what, Fail Waffle? I'm not gonna answer that. It's not why
no.
It's not how it played out. We didn't get to see it. It's not how we played out. Sorry.
So mean.
Sorry, folks. Jim Wood had said, I would love to know if the cast had a few moments to debrief together after the episode, like you would in the studio days. It was an emotional night for us watchers. Can't imagine how it was for the cast.
Yeah, we always debrief after the episode. Well, at least we always hang out for a bit and chat, even if there's nothing to really check in on. And I actually don't even remember what we talked about because I was so tired. I was 2 hours ahead, time-wise, and also emotionally drained. I think it was fine. I think we checked in.
Yeah, no, we did, definitely. And like you said, we do almost every episode stay for up to a half an hour or longer after the show's over, just sort of talking and checking in, and I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we check in when big things happen to make sure that everything's fine. I mean, even when there's conflict between characters, we try to check in too, to be like, okay, was that okay for everybody? How are we feeling? So, but this particular instance, we couldn't really say much because, I mean, we couldn't tell each other what was really going on.
Yeah, that's the harder part, I guess, is that there wasn't you can check in only so much, but everybody's in the dark.
It's really. You
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just saying, I think it's fun that of the thousands of people that have watched this show, 4 of them have a different experience than everyone else, and the 4 are that are on the show. I think it's cool.
I was gonna say I keep holding myself back, but I keep wanting to text the other cast and be like, "What are you guys saying? What are you talking about? What do you think's gonna happen?" But there's nothing they can say. They can't say anything to me. What are they gonna say? We don't know. What happened? What did you do?
Yeah, it's fun. What else? Anybody else have questions? I know there was a bunch we missed. I still have a couple minutes.
I wrote down the ones. I think we answered everything that I saw. We have one that just came in from Sean0418 that says, Jeff, will there be ramifications to the princess talking to Araban, or will we ever get to hear that conversation?
I don't think you'll ever get to hear that conversation, but stay tuned. You never know. Never know.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we answered everybody's questions.
We did good. We barreled through. We went at quite a pace.
Oh, we have a question, a last minute question from Fail Waffle. Quick, Jeff, what are your thoughts on the James dream? We kind of covered that a little bit earlier, but do you have any remaining thoughts
I loved
on that?
it. I thought it was really cool. Like I said, clearly Morgan had put a lot of thought and heart and care into that.
Persta thoughts? Fail Waffle clarifies.
I know there was a intense debate in the Discord about Persta and her general moral stance or lack thereof. I don't necessarily want to weigh in on that, but I do think, I mean, there was some people saying like, well, if James showed her that he was just defending those kids, then, you know, all well and good. I don't think that's how a lawful good person would handle murder, right? It's still murder. He still killed a guy.
Yeah.
He still killed a guard.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't want to bring it into the real world too much, but if, you know, you kill a cop and they were doing something bad, you still killed a cop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think...
he still killed somebody.
Yeah. It's not, I think Persta as lawful good isn't going to be like, oh, fine, it's fine. You're fine. I think that's why she was like, you know, I understand you've done a lot of good, and I understand the context of this now, but you are no longer welcome in Turles.
I mean, ultimately, it would come down to a matter of self-defense, I think, but there would still certainly be a trial. Yes. I think honestly, yes, she's not going to absolve you of that. It's still in her mind as lawful good, as someone who believes, as we've seen, stringently in the rule of law, to the point of you know, it being problematic for a lot of people. I think she would still say, hey, the rule of law says you weren't supposed to do that. You know, it's not your responsibility to do that. Well, Failoff was clarifying again. I meant Persta's thoughts of the James confession itself.
I mean, I think you heard her. There's part of her that I think that wonders why he had to be away from her to do that, why he had to do it through a dream, or he had to use magic to do it. I mean, we never really got to hear Persta's reasoning behind her objections with magic in general, but they're solid, and she has her reasons. And I think, you know, I don't think she appreciated that methodology, although it was very effective in showing her the truth of the moment. But yeah, I mean, I think hopefully you saw her reaction to the kids being threatened when she would reach for her sword every time. She didn't like that, right? She is lawful good. She does not believe that guard should have been doing that, but she also doesn't believe that James should have done what he did. So, yeah.
Well,
hopefully all that was clear.
I think so. We have one final question that I'm not happy about, but I'm gonna read it anyway. From Sir Bubblesworth. Another quick question for Jeff. Which of the heroes of Bingle do you really wish would have died?
For me?
Yeah.
I wish would have died?
Yeah.
Listen, we all know it's Civ, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I just, there's no wish would have died.
I want to kill Mr. Whispers. Jeff wants to kill Civ.
Just so Jared would just shut up for. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh
That was a joke.
my God.
That was a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm just
telling
picking
him.
someone at random to haze. But no, I didn't have a hope. You know, there was no hope. I genuinely was curious to see how that was going to play out, and part of me thought that it was going to be a self-sacrifice moment for whichever character, because I know you guys are all very noble, and I think that's kind of the noble way to handle that. But I, you know, I didn't know. I thought there was definitely, but especially after Ugo said, "Hey, I'll die for you," I thought, oh, is she maybe gonna take him up on that? You know, nobody would hold it against Fahima if she torched Ugo. You know.
Yeah, that definitely felt like the easier way out.
Yeah. There was a question. I know we're over now, but there was a question up here. I can't remember who said it. Forgive me, whoever you are. But there was a question that I don't think you ever really addressed, Jessica, of did you ever consider not doing it at all? Just rejecting the premise?
Briefly. But I think especially from Fahima's perspective, everything has led us here to Lord Araban, and
yeah.
This is where she's been told to find out more about who she is. This is where I think it became clear when I was journaling about it that the main reason that she didn't turn away is because her dad told her to come here. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to say whether he knew something like this would happen or not. She hopes that he wouldn't have known that. Maybe he knew that there would be a difficult trial, but that he didn't know that it would happen this way. But I think that made her go, nope, this needs to happen, because where else do we go? You know, like there's no one else who knows this secret. Her dad doesn't even know the secret because the secret keeper is holding it. And if we don't have this information, then we can't make any further decisions. And, you know, luckily earlier in the episode, we had that hilarious, you know, back and forth cutscene where, you know, Ugo and Civ were having rub-a-dub-dub time, and then on the other side, the mages were discussing, well, we have to make a decision at some point. It's coming soon. We need more information. So, yeah, briefly considered it, but only briefly.
You made me think that we really missed an opportunity to title this episode "Rub-a-Dub Death."
Oh, that would have been a little more eye-catching.
Perhaps.
Rub-a-dub Death.
I also it also occurred to me while you were talking that there was that moment when you finally got to talk to Conroy, and Fahima was like, "Just tell me, dude," and he's like, "I can't tell you." And I think you and all the rest of the cast are like, "Man, that Conroy, he's cagey. Why won't he just spill the beans?" And did you? I hope that the notion that he like offloaded his secret to something else, like retroactively made that make more sense and not make me feel like I was being so manipulative.
It does now. I had not even thought about that until you said it right now, but that does make a lot
cool.
of sense.
Yeah, that was the whole thing of like, I literally can't tell you the secret.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, but he
and
knows.
Basically, if you rewatch that scene, he basically says that he's like, "I can't do it. You have to go to this other guy."
But he did say something about how he was afraid that it would change how Fahima sees him, or would you remember what his exact verbiage was on that? He was afraid she wouldn't be happy with him.
Would forgive him when you find out the truth.
Would not forgive him.
Otherwise, we're gonna.
Oh God.
So confused.
I think that's what I said.
Forgive him. I should go back.
Something
and
like
find
that.
it. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully we answered everybody's questions, and thank you so much to our patrons for asking those amazing questions. If you don't have the link, I'm going to put it in chat right now. If you would like to support the show by being a patron of the show, and yeah, if you don't have the means to support via Patreon, just hanging out with us on the show and sharing it with your friends and family is the biggest show of support that we appreciate from you all. And yeah, less than, actually no, 2 days until the next episode.
I got a lot of work to do.
I do want to shout out some cheers that we got while we were talking here. We got 2 cheers from Kitty Scritches. Gord the Rogue, one of our amazing mods, gifted a sub to Fail Waffle, so thank you so much.
Nice.
We completed a level 1 hype train. Cassidy Weaver with 2 cheers, and Tua Mask with 2 cheers. Thank you. Oh, and Jim Whitted with some more cheers. Awesome.
Yay.
Thank you. Yeah, so that concludes the dungeon cooldown, and yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday.
Humankind.
Be both. Bye, everybody.